Thank you. Please be seated. In opening this special meeting of Council, can I welcome His Majesty's Lord Lieutenant for West Yorkshire, Mr Ed Anderson, CBE, and the High Sheriff, Mrs Susan Baker, MBE, and other guests who are with us this afternoon. Can I also ask you, if you have mobile phones, to switch them off, and to remind you that this meeting is being webcast. The first item on the agenda this afternoon is the Honorary Freeman Award to Rob Burrows, MBE, and Kevin Sinfield, MBE. And I call upon the Leader of Council to move that motion. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, for opening the meeting, and welcome everybody, councillors, guests, Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff. I welcome our Children's Mayor, Mason Hicks, to join us today. Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin. I recognise Jamie Jones-Buchanan, the irrepressible JJB, who played alongside Rob and Kevin back in the day. Bob Bowman, who's here in Kevin Sinfield's place to receive the award. Gary Hetherington, the Chief Executive from the Rhinos. I know we've got guests here from families, we've got the Leeds Hospital Charities, and we've got the Motor Neurone Disease Association as well. And everybody's welcome for this really special meeting, and one I'm so proud we can do as a city. The summons for the meeting reads that Rob and Kevin have been awarded the Freedom of the City in high recognition and high appreciation of the honour and distinction brought to the city by their outstanding sporting achievements, their charitable work with the Motor Neurone Disease Association, and support to the wider motor neurone disease community. And I'd just like to reflect on those achievements. Rob and Kevin and Jamie were part of the real golden generation of Leeds Rhinos when they were always finishing above Castleford Tigers in the Super League, one that causes great debate in my ward of Kippax and Methley. Their incredible sporting achievement for our city, for the hundreds of appearances, the 2 Challenge Cups, the Super League titles, and the 3 World Cup challenges, will go down as one of the greatest runs of sporting achievements in the city. And Kevin, of course, was captain for most of that time and is the Rhinos' record highest point scorer. And the impact we often talk about as a council when we look at our high-performing athletes, we look and successful athletes and sportsmen and women. We look at the thread that runs from that to the kids that want to run round on our fields and in our parks and in our pitches to play sport at a young age, and to really get our ambition to be the most physically active city in the country. And people being able to see that high levels of sporting achievement of part of the city is really part of how we achieve that, and that inspiration it gives people is amazing. I also want to touch on the second part and the work for the motor neurone disease community that Rob and Kevin have done since Rob was diagnosed in 2019, and they really have over that time brought the search for a cure to the forefront of public attention. And I know Bob might touch on this when he speaks on behalf of Kevin, but I know Kevin Sinfield has said he will not stop fundraising until a cure is found. And I think from what we've seen so far, we know that he will stick to that. It is curable, it will be curable, we've just not found it yet. And that research and that funding for the research from the centre is so important. I know over £7 million has been raised through Kevin Sinfield's incredible endurance events. And the result of the work that Kevin and Rob have done and others, the government has committed £50 million to the research as well. In Leeds, with the Leeds Hospitals Charity, we're working towards the Rob Burrows Centre for Motor Neurone Disease as a hub of innovation and excellence in treating motor neurone disease in the city. And as part of the fundraising, we'll see for the first time in a long time a marathon being run in the city. And it'll be the first Rob Burrow marathon to help raise money towards that. And I know among our guests and among our councillors, there are people who will be running that marathon as well. Kevin's achievements are we've seen things like the 7 marathons in 7 days in the autumn of 2020. In 2021, running 101 miles from Leicester Tigers ground to Headingley, and late last year, over £2 million raised by running 7 ultramarathons in 7 days. I think for those of us who get out of breath running to the bus, we know, we understand what a huge challenge and commitment that is. I think we're really pleased as the council were able to honour Rob and Kevin, and we've talked about their achievements on the sporting field and the things for the motor neuron disease, but I know the thing that has touched people in the city most is that bond of friendship between them that was formed playing for the Leeds Rhinos and has really gone through since Rob's diagnosis to fighting for a cure to motor neuron disease. That friendship has touched people so much. That's the reason we wanted to give the Freedom of City to Rob and Kevin together. And I'm really proud on behalf of the council to move the motion that they admitted to the freedom of the City of Leeds.
Call upon Councillor Cohen to second the motion.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor, and a big welcome also to all of our guests, as Councillor Lewis just said, to this incredibly special meeting. And what a great way to start 2023, honouring these two phenomenal people. I'm delighted to have been invited to second this evening's motion that Mr Rob Burrows, MBE, and Mr Kevin Sinfield, OBE, be made Freemen of the City of Leeds in recognition of all their outstanding sporting achievements, their charitable work with the Motor Neurone Disease Association, and their tremendous support to the wider MND community. I want to take this opportunity to also pass on heartfelt congratulations, heartiest congratulations, not only to Rob and Kevin themselves, but to their families who are, I'm absolutely certain, so proud today. It's always a challenge seconding a motion like this. Of course, the leader has taken all the great things, most of the great things that one could say. So it's always a bit of a challenge to go second. And my heart goes out to those that are going to go third and fourth as well. I'm sure there'll be something left. One could ask why, indeed, in 2023, creating new honorary freemen is relevant. The days when being a freeman was the only way to vote in elections, or that gave rights to herd livestock down Briggate, have long passed. Although it being quite the sight, perhaps, at Mr Sinfield's next ultra-marathon to have seen that. But the honour is still relevant. It is still important. It's one of the few ways that we as a city can publicly and formally recognise those who exhibit so thoroughly, so perfectly, those qualities that are central to us as the best city in the UK. Resilience in adversity, loyalty, dynamism. These are qualities that both you, Rob, and Kevin exemplify, not just in recent years, but through your whole professional rugby careers as part of one of the finest rugby league sides of modern times. And people in Wigan are probably foaming at the mouth to even hear that, but it's true. But beyond this, you are both, as Councillor Lewis says, the absolute personification of true friendship. That quality that is so central to every one of us here in Leeds, and indeed to all good Yorkshire folk. And above all else, in the merit of that tremendous example of true friendship and fidelity, and constantly going above and beyond for one another, I'm truly honoured to second today's motion. Thank you, my Lord Mayor.
Can I call upon Councillor Howley to support the motion?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Councillor Cohen, you have left very little room to say anything new. As I was preparing for today, I was thinking, what is there left to be said? many great things about two great people have already been said. So I thought all I could really do is share a few of my personal reflections on this great honour today. In preparing for today, I was talking to a very long-standing friend of mine who told me actually that it was very likely that I had refereed Rob in the past when you played for Castleford Panthers. Rob, I think you would have remembered my reffing, as apparently it was memorable. Spectators frequently told me I was the worst referee they'd ever seen. I first started watching Leeds in the early 1990s, and this is pertinent. It's a time that Wikipedia refers to as the time of the nearly men. The time where Leeds was brilliant at coming second. We went to Wembley twice. We lost. We don't need to mention the team. There were frustrating times to be a Leeds supporter. And whilst things did start to improve, it was the era, as Councillor Lewis has already referred to, of Kevin and Rob that started in 2004. The glory years of Leeds Rhinos that put Leeds Rugby League back firmly on the map, and it will never leave there now. So, my point here is that with those two fantastic careers, you had nothing left to prove. There was no need for new challengers. But that's not in the nature of either of you. And new challengers' circumstances presented themselves. And you made the most of these opportunities in these adverse circumstances. And of course, as has already been mentioned, demonstrated the strength of true friendship. At the end of Kevin's ultramarathon challenge, he said the experience had showed him that our country cares about those who need them, and that those with MND are very much in need of this support, and how true those words are. Many years ago, I asked a friend from Leeds why he'd chosen to play union and not league. And he told me that in union, when you get tackled, your team stays with you and protects you. Whereas in league, they all run away and wait for you to stand up again and continue the fight. Well, while Kevin was touched by how much the country cares, the two of you have shown that rugby league players also care and also help. And in this regard, you have shown that rugby league has true ambassadors. Rob, you recently paid tribute to your family in supporting you and being a beacon of hope to families. I hope I've got your words correct there. While this is certainly true, I would say you have been the catalyst. Your drive has resulted in families not feeling as alone as they would be and now getting more of the support they desperately need. It's easy to talk of turning adversity into opportunity, but so rarely has this ever been achieved. We are all aware of the huge benefits that your efforts have jointly brought to the MND community, with much needed funds and support. As a side benefit, you have become those ambassadors. And rugby league never really gets enough of this publicity that, in my view, being biased, Leeds and rugby league deserve. The question has often been asked whether, if the tables had been turned, would you, Rob, have been prepared to do the same for Kevin as he has done for you? I think this is an unfair question. You see, Kevin took Rob's playing number of 7 to inspire the challenge of running 7 ultramarathons in 7 days. If the tables were turned, Rob, that would have meant taking Kevin's number, 13, and running 13 ultramarathons in 13 days. Should you be asked that question again, I would suggest you do as any competent politician would do and avoid answering the question. You are two of the most deserving people to become Freemen of the City of Leeds, and I am truly honoured and very, very pleased to support this motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
I call upon Councillor Finnegan to support the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It is a pleasure and an honour to support the resolution to award the honorary freeman of the City of Leeds to both Rob Burrow, MBE, and Kevin Sinfield, OBE. In a time when the phrase heroic is often misplaced, there can be no finer use of the phrases heroic and heroes to confirm the outstanding work both Rob and Kevin have undertaken, not only to raise the awareness of the impact of MND, but to also raise the overwhelming levels of charitable donations to tackle what is an evil and wicked disease that leaves individuals and families with challenges on a daily basis most of us cannot comprehend or even begin to have the resilience to cope with. Both Rob and Kevin have been brilliant ambassadors for the sport of rugby league, have been fine representatives of the City of Leeds during their years with Leeds Rhinos. Their sporting achievements are the stuff of legends, and they have shown what sporting gentlemen they are in the way that they have behaved and the fairness and comradeship that they have brought to each and every game of rugby league that they have played. Both Rob and Kevin are inspirational people who have worked tirelessly over recent years to battle this evil disease and to put others, families and individuals crushed by this disease first, seeking better therapies and ultimately a cure for MND in the longer term. At a time when the phrase inspirational has been overused and devalued, this is what real inspiration looks like. And it motivates us all to work harder to support and finance the battle against MND, to make sure it is the good guys who triumph, no concessions are ever offered to this vile disease. We must all pledge to do everything within our power to support the campaign so brilliantly led by Rob and Kevin. It is often the case that politicians cannot articulate with the same power or emotion the concerns and the passion of those directly involved in this fabulous campaign. And I would agree that I cannot articulate better words than those Kevin gave at the BBC Personality of the Year Awards. And he said, well, Rob's probably the most inspirational bloke in the UK at the moment. He has inspired us all to be better friends, and in sport, the connections you make in your playing careers, the camaraderie, the teammates you get, and your friendships don't stop when the whistle goes. Rugby and sport is powerful enough to bring communities together. We witnessed a nation that cared about the MND community. I cannot put it better than that. And the Morley Borough Independent Group is honoured and privileged to support this resolution and to pledge our total support to the campaign led by both Rob and Kevin and many others to do everything within our power to work towards a cure for this vile disease. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
I call upon Councillor Blackburn to support.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's with great honour for me to speak on behalf of my group in support of this motion for Rob Burrows and Kevin Sinfield being awarded the freedom of the City of Leeds. I think on two levels, the work that they've done in raising funds, but also being part of that great team of Leeds. Leeds Rugby has always had great players. I, as a teenager, played at under-17 level. Never reached the levels of these two, but that was still an honour to play there. And they among the best of the best. Rob came from Pontefract and joined Leeds Rhinos in 2001, starting a 16-year career at the club. During that time, he played in the team. They won the Super League 8 times, the Challenge Cup twice, the World Cup Club Challenge 3 times, the League Leaders Shields 3 times. He played 493 times for the Rhinos, scoring 1,111 points. In his last match, he played in the grand final. Leeds beat Castleford at Old Trafford. I'm sorry if that hurts the leader, but it was Castleford, you know. Rob, one of the heroes in the club of heroes, but on the 19th of December 2019, Rob revealed that he had been diagnosed with motor neuron disease. I've got to say, that's a sad thing for anybody, but somebody who's been a sportsman, it's really it. And how he's coped with it has been brilliant, and he and his family has coped with it has been fantastic. Kevin Sinfield, who was born in Oldham, and it turns out, I think, as a schoolboy, was an Oldham Athletic football fan. So, unfortunately, both the rugby team and the football team are not as good as they once were in Oldham. He signed for Leeds in 1997, playing his last match in Rugby League was in 2015 in the Super League Grand Final, which he captained the club to victory, securing the treble for the first time in the club's history. In 1999, his breakthrough year, he made 21 appearances. In 2003, he played in the Challenge Cup final, the Grand Final victory of 2004, the World Cup Challenge victory of 2005, and in the Challenge Cup final of 2005. Super League final loss of 2000, and so on. The list goes on and on and on. Through its the club's most successful period, playing his last game in 2015 in the Super League Grand Final. Kevin played 521 times for Leeds and scored 3,967 points. As I say, as a former player, that tally is remarkable. And how he did it, you know, it proves how great players this team was. But we're not just here to honour those two people as the great rugby players for their sporting achievements, but also what they've done since Rob's diagnosis with motor neuron disease. In 2020, Rob ran 7 marathons in 7 days and raised £77,777 for his teammate and the M&D Association. If any of you have done one marathon, you know how hard it is, but doing 7 in 7 days is remarkable. By the time he had finished the 7th marathon, the actual figure that he'd raised had gone up to 1.2 million, and by the following day, the total raise was in excess of 2 million. In 2021, Kevin Sinfield ran from Leicester Tigers ground to Headingley, which eventually brought in £2,000, and recently he did the run during the Rugby League World Cup, which were 7 ultra marathons in 7 days. I said earlier that we were honoring 2 great sportsmen, but not only that, 2 great friends and comrades who have used the change of life circumstances of one of them to benefit all sufferers of motor neuron disease. I support the motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
I call upon Councillor Dobson to support the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, very honoured guests and friends. It's a great honour to stand here this evening to speak in support of the motion to make two remarkable human beings honorary freemen of our great city. My colleagues and the leader think they've got problems going first, second, third and fourth. Try fifth. You really have run out of things to say. Thank you, James and co. It's always interesting, these events, because you find out wonderful things about colleagues you never knew. I never knew, for example, that Councillor Howley was the worst referee in rugby league. And I'm sure we're all thrilled and delighted he's brought that special skill set to the council. But joking aside, we have come here this evening in the spirit of friendship. And I think for all of us, that's the key word that links these two remarkable human beings together. The work with motor neuron disease has been well articulated by colleagues, as has the remarkable achievements of Leeds Rhinos. But for me and my colleagues in Garforth and Tullington Independence, this is a story of friendship. When you see Rob and Kevin on the TV and you look in the faces, it's etched on their faces, that love and respect and comradeship and loyalty that each feels for the other. I think the comment was made earlier, or the question was raised, if things were reversed, would the same things be happening? Well, of course, because these are lads who forged careers together from young men, reached the highest honours in the game, and now are clearly the best and deepest of friends. And I think if we can take anything from tonight, it's how lucky we would all be as individuals if we managed to gather round as friends like Rob and Kevin. Because if we do, we must be doing something right. And the other thing I wanted to take from this evening is just when you look at what these two remarkable people have achieved, let's try and take it away and make us all better people. Everybody in this room shares a common aim, and it's a love of Leeds, and it's a passion for the city, and it's to progress the city's best interests. And we go about that in really different ways, and we can often clash on that subject. But the one thing we won't clash on is the depth of love and respect for the city that we all share, and that love and respect is encapsulated in these two remarkable human beings. So something off the cuff there, being fifth is never a good gig, but it's with great honour and pride we are happy to support the motion to make these remarkable people honorary freemen of the City of Leeds. Lord Mayor, thank you.
I'm now going to put the motion to the vote to make Rob Burrow, MBE, and Kevin Sinfield, OBE, freedom of the City of Leeds. Those for? Any against? Any abstentions? Well, surprising enough, that's unanimous. Congratulations. Can I invite the... Can I invite the Chief Executive to read the scroll of admission?
At a meeting of the Council of the City of Leeds held in the Banquet Hall at the Civic Hall on the 11th day of January 2023 at a special council convened for the said purpose, the Lord Mayor, Councillor Robert W. Gettings, MBE JP, in the chair, resolved unanimously that under and in pursuance of the powers conferred by Section 249, subsection 5 of the Local Government Act 1972, the Council admit Rob Burrow, MBE, and Kevin Sinfield, OBE, to be honorary freemen of the City of Leeds. In recognition and high appreciation of the honour and distinction brought to the city by their outstanding sporting achievements, their charitable work with the Motor Neuron Disease Association, and support to the wider MND community.
Can I now invite the recipients to address those assembled?
I'm speechless to represent the city, the best city in the world. Of course, I am an outsider from the dark side of the river, but it feels like home. I've represented the best city, and I can't see how to get more from Leeds than to receive this honour. Thanks to my entire family for their help and support throughout the 3 years, especially my wife and kids, who give me reason to never give in. Finally, to Kevin, who has gone above and beyond for his mate, I'd accept on behalf of the city of Leeds, the place where my dreams came true.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Can you all hear me? What a privilege to represent Kevin today, to accept the award. I can see the headlines tomorrow. Bob Bowman accepts freedom of the city. Small brackets on behalf of Kevin Siegel. No, seriously. It's a great privilege, and I was so pleased when Kevin asked. I, of course, can in no way speak for Kevin. And nor will I attempt to do so. What I can say is that if Kevin was here, and he is saddened not to be here, and email exchanges have been included in over the past few weeks, he expresses that sadness not to be here to accept the award for the city that he really does love. And many of you will have heard him often say, Oldham is his town, but Leeds is his city. And he really does love the place and all about it. So he is deeply as he would say if he was here, and I think many of us who've heard him speak would say that Kevin would open with a very genuine, massive and heartfelt thank you. And he would really mean it. So, to speak as myself, Bob Bowman, Chief Executive of the Leeds Rhinos Foundation, I just think it's fantastic that my city, the city that I was born, raised on a council estate here in the city, lived all my life, worked within the city all my life, that my city has decided to honour both Rob and Kevin with the freedom of the city. It's truly magnificent. I've had the privilege for a number of years now to work closely and within what is such a great establishment of the Leeds Rhinos, and to have that privilege of rubbing shoulders with the likes of Kevin, Rob, and many, many others, both players and staff and people who are associated with the club, is a tremendous privilege indeed. And yet Kevin and Rob truly exemplify their kinship and friendship and the effect it's had on Leeds as a city, and it will do beyond, but certainly recently with their work around raising awareness, funding for motor neuron disease, etc. So I am honoured, like I say, to be here. I find it's tremendous that some things come full circle as well, because it'll be great as well moving forward. It's been mentioned earlier that in May the 14th this year we'll have the marathon named in Rob's honour, commencing from Headingley Stadium. And what's great about that as well is that two people who've been made Freemen of the City today, that marathon's working with a great organisation called Run for All, obviously headed up by Mike Tomlinson, and it's up there on the board that, you know, it comes full circle that the legacy of Jane means that draws together as well with two other great sporting heroes, diamonds of the city, to move forward. Little bit of advice from me. There's a lot of talk about the marathon. There's a lot of talk about this little incline that comes out of Otley towards Leeds. My only advice to people like myself who are running it is, I'll certainly, if I'm struggling, and any others, be thinking of the courage, grit and determination that Rob showed throughout all his playing career, but obviously over and above since his diagnosis in 2019. Similarly with Kevin, the courage, grit and determination he showed as a player, but obviously since he's wanted to support his mate and beyond with his amazing feats of endurance, etc. So I will finish by just putting the Kevin head back on, just for 2 words, very simply, thank you.
I now declare this council meeting closed and invite everybody to join me for a drink in the reception room next door.